Hello, hello to everyone reading and watching on YouTube. I'll be reading through all the city stories and character bios while my cat stares at me angrily since he's supposed to be fed in 2 hours. Isn't that right, Kuro? Yes. Starting off with the family, faithful servant. Breakfast at Wayne Manor was served at 6 p.m. and traditionally consisted of an egg white omelet, a pot of black coffee, and a pair of mild painkillers served on a small silver dish to the side of the tray. Lately, Master Bruce has taken to leaving the omelet. Sad. You can't skip breakfast, people. Today was no exception, Alfred noted, stepping out of his employer's bedroom, tray in hand. This was unlike Bruce Wayne, who would force down bloody slabs of meat when sick, rather than risk the loss of muscle mass. But Master Bruce hadn't been himself since the Joker died. Alfred expected some change, naturally, but he had hoped his master might relax. Instead, Bruce had attacked Gotham's criminal population with renewed intensity. When Alfred questioned him, Bruce had explained the necessity of striking while the power vacuum remained. Eminently sensible. Yet Bruce's urgency seemed like that of a man running out of time. Alfred found Bruce in the Batcave, of course, already suited, sending revised specifications to Lucius for the new Batmobile. Why are you laying down like that, Kuro? He's sideways in his bed compared to the proper front forward. Sir, Alfred ventured, given that we have no pressing leads this evening, and sundown is not for another 45 minutes, I thought I might tempt you with what remains of your breakfast. 42 minutes. Bruce kept his eyes on the Bat computer screen. Alfred paused for a moment, wondering what could possibly have driven the man he raised to keep secrets from him for the first time in 30 years. Very good, sir, Alfred said before leaving the room. Very good what? He didn't accept the food or not? Wonder Tower. Hugo Strange followed Ra's al Ghul out onto Wonder Tower's viewing platform. Arkham City gleamed beneath them, a peaceful patchwork of neon and steel. How is our mayor? Ross inquired, tightly gripping the railing to steady himself. Playing his part, Strange observed. People seem quite convinced. It will be morally repugnant to a few, but even they cannot deny the impulse. Ross closed his eyes. To wipe the slate clean. Strange had noticed the subtle glitches in his master's behavior. The professor had conducted enough experiments to recognize the symptoms of mental trauma, as well as when a patient was trying to mask its effects. I wish you would allow me to access to the source of your power, Strange said benignly. I could help. It is here, isn't it? In the base of this tower? Roz laughed, and suddenly Strange couldn't breathe. You think you see weakness? Roz squeezed. Strange felt his throat tightening, life ebbing away. How wrong you are. Roz released him, and Strange dropped to his knees, sucking in air. Roz walked back to his place overlooking the city. We will rid the Gotham of its vermin. Nothing can stop us. Strange massaged his neck. You think he will stand by idly while we murder thousands? Batman won't, Ross replied. But Bruce Wayne won't have any choice. Guardian Angel. To find Batman. Find the injustice. Please God, don't hurt me, the man in the suit backed away, tossing his wallet onto the ground. His attackers closed in. One of them scooped up the wallet and fingered the notes inside. Jackpot! The other cracked his knuckles and threw a punch, dropping the suit to his knees, holding his broken face. Money won't save you, but he can. The ripple of taut fabric as a shadowy cape swooped down. He'll go for the sweep. The thug was busy counting when Batman took his legs. The wallet spun into the air as the sound of his skull cracking pinballed around the alleyway. The other thug turned and charged. His style has changed, less elaborate. Batman threw his arm into the swinging hook, popping the shoulder joint. Strike the vulnerable areas, end it fast. His fist slammed the thug's tattooed solar plexus, stopping his body like a bolt of electricity. The longer the fight, the more it hurts him. Batman stood over the unconscious men, head tilted back, eyes shut, breathing hard. How can he leave them? They don't deserve to live. Azrael looked down from the rooftop. He had studied Batman for long enough. He knew what Gotham needed. Divine justice. Ooh, homecoming. 254 days, 17 hours, and 9 minutes. It seemed like a lifetime, yet still he hungered. Every waking moment a test of will. He'd never truly be free from the cravings, but at least now he had found a mean to channel all that pain into something productive, something worthwhile. He had returned to Santa Prisca broken and desperate, still reeling from his run-in with Batman in Arkham City. He was searching for solace, a fresh start, a means of making the nightmares stop. When he arrived in the slums of his homeland and found a young boy bleeding out from a gunshot wound in the street, mother wailing by his side, Bane realized what had really drawn him back here. Beneath the veneer of luxury resorts and spas, Santa Prisca was a hotbed of corruption, ruled by vicious cartels, drug lords amped up on venom, and broiled in a bloody turf war that had claimed countless innocent lives. Bane had started from the bottom and worked his way up. Now, as the sun bled out over the horizon, he admired the fruits of his labor. 12 severed heads lined up on the beach in various states of decay. The 12 most powerful drug lords on the island. His work was almost done. Just one target remained. Peña Dura, the stone fortress in which he had been born, raised, and forever corrupted. It was time to tear it all down. The trap. 3 thugs, 1 hostage. Easy. First, the guy with the gun. Barbara dropped behind the nearest of Joker's goons, crouched, and launched herself back up. One a screamer stick in the back of the knee to drop him. The other met the back of his skull on the way down. Next, the guy with the knife. He had a knife, anyway. He had a broken wrist now. A wrist she caught between her sticks and snapped when he lunged at her. She let the arm drop and swung her weapons back and over her shoulders, onto his head. The sad clown makeup looked perfect as he fell to the floor. And now the mop-up. She dropped and swung a sweeping kick to meet the last thug as he charged her, sending him barreling into a wall. The hostage was crying, curled fetal with his back to her from the corner of the room. Odd, for a police officer in Gotham. They've usually seen worse. It's okay, Barbara took a step towards him. It's me, Batgirl. The sobbing got worse, louder, hysterical. And then Barbara froze. He wasn't crying at all. What's wrong? The officer crooned. Aren't you going to rescue me? Not exactly. Barbara's eyes scanned for exits. Her feet took a fighting stance. Well then, said Joker, twisting round to face her until he was lunging in a blood-stained police officer's outfit on his officer's uniform on his side. Why don't you rescue Commissioner Gordon instead? Resolutions. January 1st. I've always wanted to hear this guy a bit. Happy New Year, diary. I feel melancholy. The old dates hold no magic anymore. My New Year's resolution is to find new occasions to celebrate. I feel reborn. Today I celebrated National Hugging Day for the first time. I went to Elliott Memorial Hospital, covered myself in infected blood, and visited the children's ward. February 2nd. Happy Groundhog Day. My new houseguest and I are going to watch the stream from Puxwana. I never hear that one out loud, so I'll never be able to say it. If the rodent predicts an early spring, I'll let my new friend go. But if the groundhog retreats to his burrow, I'll bury my guest alive. June 5th. Hey, it's my birthday. World Environment Day, a worthy, important cause. I passed this message on to a class of school children by forcing them to drink Ace Chemicals runoff. They won't pollute now. September 19th. Dear Diary, Happy International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Today I cut off a man's leg and nailed a wooden peg in its place. He couldn't walk the plank. Very disappointing. Checked on my scurvy victim, but she wasn't ready. Next year. Happy World Peace Day. I left bombs at the Kurasi Embassy. October 29th. Halloween tempts me. I promised Batman I would be present at his end, and All Hallows Eve is the perfect time to bid farewell to him. I'll make this one exception in my year of alternative celebrations. October 31st. Damn Scarecrow. Poison Chalice. Cash lifted the framed photo out of the box and placed it on the desk. He still remembered the day he pinned it to the inside of his locker during his first shift at the asylum. It had been with him ever since. Nice-looking family you got there, sir, the sergeant remarked, busily clearing out the previous owner's possessions from a drawer. It'd be unfortunate what happened to them. Cash was close to telling him it was a lucky charm, but he knew the reaction he'd get. The kid didn't know how crazy things could get. He'd soon end up as superstitious as all the rest. Besides, something was telling Cash luck might not be worth a damn around here. He would be the 5th station supervisor in as many months. The others were all gone, assassinated. Cash knew he was putting himself in the crosshairs, tempting fate, but the commissioner had asked, and he couldn't refuse a friend. The sergeant finished packing the dead man's things just as Gordon arrived. Aaron, Jim said, offering his hand. Didn't think I'd see you tonight, Cash replied, shaking the commissioner's hand. Gordon always came down for this part. It was the introduction. Both men stepped out of the elevator onto the roof. The bat signal illuminated the night sky. You know, Cash said, we have met already. I know, Gordon said, but it's tradition. Just another word for superstition, Cash thought. Traditions are a bit better than superstition, at least, but also true. On the prowl. Want to find a weak link in a security system? Look for the man with a gun, especially when they're new in town. Poor guy didn't even know the first rule of Gotham, Selina mused. The mantra thugs from Bleak to the Bowery drilled into new recruits. Always look up. Well, he'd know it now. Selina dragged his unconscious body behind a dumpster and slipped through a vent into Arkham Asylum's administrative building. She was late. The meeting had started? Ended, maybe? Scarecrow's voice, sonorous yet raspy, carried along the vent like a snake slithering through dry grass. Another voice replied, young, angry, and disguised. Footsteps, then silence. Worthless. Selina needed more. Names, details, a damn date. Batman was more inclined to ignore the occasional heist when she had information he needed. And besides, it was fun having something to wield over him, seeing the pain, pleading expression on Gotham's apex predator's face when they were alone and she had the upper hand. She peeked through the vent. Scarecrow's office. No guards by the door. Good. Selina dropped down, twisting her body to land on all fours. And then an arc of electricity lashed out from the ceiling. Selina dodged it, all reflexes, and saw her attacker floating above the vent. Since when did Scarecrow have security drones? Damn it, Selina, she thought, plotting her exit over the sound of the alarm. Always look up. Cargo. The dozing soldiers snapped awake, gripped their semi-automatic rifles, and flicked the safeties off. They weren't sure what it was that had them spooked. Turbulence, perhaps. The unit commander nodded towards the container, trigger finger poised. The metal box was taking up most of the airship's cargo hold. It must have weighed several tons. Sneeze. And that wasn't including what was trapped inside, the thing these men had spent several weeks tracking through marshland on the outskirts of Gotham. Not everyone who started the mission had made it, their ravaged bodies left behind unceremoniously. This mission didn't exist, and now, neither did they. A plainclothes agent was reading the file, holding a handkerchief to his face to try and stem the smell of rotting fish emanating from the container. He only had words, photograph, patient history. He wouldn't get to see the creature for real. A relief. The agent looked up and spotted the panicked faces. These soldiers were tired and burnt out. Last thing he needed was any accidents. "Easy, boys," he yelled over the engine roar, slapping the metal prison. "He ain't wake you up for another month." Within the container, the tranquilizer had all but worn off. The opaque membrane withdrew across the eye. The vertical slit-shaped pupils dilated. Croc was awake and wanted off this airship. The mission. Clark stood on the littered sidewalk, looking up at the sign. Until now, this place had been a rumor, whispered in the dark. The Deacon's mission. By the sounds of it, you had to take your bread with a little preaching. They could try, Clark thought. He wasn't that hungry. Inside, a couple dozen men had their heads down, folding up tables and unstacking towers of chairs into rows. Clark spotted a large stainless steel pot, its lid ajar, the slit puffing steam. He made straight for it, his mouth hung open expectantly as he grabbed the lid. They wanted to clear that away. A hand fell on his shoulder and squeezed. "But he told me you'd come." The voice had that benevolence only a servant of God could muster. Clark turned around. The deacon's graying hair and lined face betrayed a searing vitality. "I'd like something to eat, please, sir." Clark heard himself, the last and only person he addressed that way being his father. The deacon released his grip and proceeded to ladle hot soup into a bowl. "The Lord needs us strong," he proclaimed, passing it to Clark along with a spoon. The warm liquid sneaked down his throat and coiled within his belly. It felt good, better than he expected. Clark went for another spoonful. Maybe he was that hungry, after all. It's funny that the deacon doesn't actually seem that bad, at least as a person itself, but human sacrifice for his God. The fall. Batman was wrong. He had always been wrong about Joker. There was no madhouse qualified, no prison secure enough. Jason knew that now, after what he'd seen tonight. Little arms, little legs, little heads, crudely, mockingly stitched together. He had come straight from the kindergarten, followed a trail of innocent blood back to Arkham Asylum. Tracker switched off, Cal communications disabled. He was a ghost. Batman wouldn't find him until it was done. Weeping parents, fighting over patchwork corpses. The sanatorium had been derelict for years. A burnt-out patch of dead earth on top. A forgotten warren of cells below. Good, Jason thought. He's already in the dirt. There was a moral line that Bruce had sworn never to cross. Jason would cross it for him. Jason had been watching a grief-stricken mother piece her son together when the kindergarten speaker system came to life. No, Robin, he thought. Push it down. Jason pulled back the heavy iron doors that would have once led into a laundry chute and dropped him into the dark. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, Joker sang. It was a net halfway down that caught him. It broke his weight, sending him tumbling out of the end of the chute onto the granite floor. Jason gritted his teeth, breathed through the first swing of the crowbar took out 2 teeth. The second broke his ankle. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again, Joker was singing. Just Jack. Jack Ryder's weekly column. Only in the Herald. Hey there, Gotham. Jack's back. I know. It's been a while. But I've been busy. Book deals, TV appearances, negotiations to syndicate this very column. Those things take time, Jack fans. Too much time, actually. And the agents never call you back. So I decided to give up on them. Besides, I already had a starring role in the televisual event of the season. Yep, that was my handsome face you saw sprouting from an immaculately tailored suit and giving evidence to the Arkham City Commission. And I just want to set the record straight. Yes, I said that Arkham City was illegal. Yes, I produced documentary evidence of prisoners being abused, degraded, forced to live in squalor, and nearly killed. And yes, I said that anyone exposed to such horrors should be released and generously compensated. But let's get one thing straight, Gotham. I was talking about me. I didn't need to see that crap. I shouldn't have even been there. I saw one guy eating his own arm when food supplies ran low. His own arm! I mean, he didn't look like he was accustomed to haute cuisine on the other side of the wall. But me? I dined well, Gotham, and I needed therapy after. So all of you losers sending me hate mail, stop it. It's not my fault all the crooks got free. I just wanted Gotham City to repay its debt to me, and I'm sure you do too. Justice for Jack Ryder. Jack Rydergate. Oh God, Jack Rydergate. Wallflower. Pamela stirred from her slumber and squinted at the lone orchid on her nightstand. Conventional wisdom says a gloriosa could never survive in such dry, frigid conditions. Just as the doctors had predicted, she herself would wither and die within a month of her admittance to Seattle General's intensive care unit. It had been almost 6, and the flower was in full bloom, while Pamela had never felt stronger or more in tune with the world around her. The orchid had been a gift from her mentor, Professor Jason Woodrue, the man who had professed his love for her, then left her to die from a toxic cocktail of phytohormones he had forced her to ingest in the lab they shared. Pamela's initial heartache seemed paltry in hindsight. She realized Woodrue's parting gift was far greater than even he could have imagined. The orchid spoke to her now, ethereal whispers of a world beyond these sterile walls, of a higher purpose, a new life. Pamela feigned sleep when the door opened, and the handsome specialist approached the bed to check on her. She thrust out an arm, gripped the back of his neck with inhuman strength, and pulled him in close. The man was powerless to resist, as she planted a deadly kiss on his lips. Timid wallflower, Pamela Isley was no more. Poison ivy had arrived. Keep your friends close. Master Bruce, you have a visitor. Bruce looked up from his position, curled in a fetal ball on the window ledge. He had had plenty of visitors since the death of his parents, an endless stream of grown-ups who suffocated him in kindness, patted him on the head, and talking in soft, patronizing voices, as if a sentence spoken at normal volume might cause the poor little orphan to detonate, like a bomb they'd rather leave undisturbed than risk having diffused. This wasn't one of those people. This was Thomas Elliot. Tommy. The blond boy pushed Alfred before Bruce could respond. He looked at Bruce and grinned. Thank you, Alfred, Bruce said, trying to sound formal in front of his friend. Alfred coughed awkwardly before leaving the room. It was these moments, when others were around, that he and Bruce were still learning to navigate together. Alfred had reached for Bruce's hand at the funeral, only for the boy to snatch it away, embarrassed. Yet he refused to let go during the car ride home. We have to be kind to you, Tommy slumped casually next to Bruce and fixed him with an intense stare that mirrored Bruce's own. That's what Miss Hyslop said at school. Everyone's being kind to me, Tommy. It's boring. Tommy thought about this. I wish my parents were dead, he said, eventually. Then I'd be a billionaire, like you. Bruce's stunned laughter echoed around the manor's empty rooms. Power play. No more of this grief crap, thought Scratch. 6 months since Joker died. Time Harley moved on. And if she couldn't move on, well, it's time the gang did. Scratch was smart, everybody said it, and he had a plan. Harley had one of her freaky Joker statues, the one with a television set sat on the shoulders in her room. Every night she kissed the creepy video rail of his face goodnight, right on the grinning lips. Scratch was going to put a bomb inside it, kill Harley and decapitate the old boss too. Nothing says put Scratch in charge like that. Harley was out, gang war with Penguin's crew. That's all they did these days. Defend instead of expand. Scratch was going to change that, he thought, slipping into her room. Red and black everywhere. The curtains, the carpet, the bed. Like playing cards, Harley said when she handed out the new uniforms. Clubs and hearts. Joker was in the corner, grinning at him. His eyes followed Scratch around the room, interrupted by occasional static. I dare you, they said, as Scratch crept up to the smiling ghost. Sorry, boss, he said, taking out the screwdriver and the small explosive charge, but I've got to do this. For the gang. Bad idea, Scratchy, Joker replied. Scratch froze, terrified. Bad idea, Scratchy, Joker said. Same intonation as before. Bad idea, Scratchy. Scratch relaxed. She had cut it together, made it out of old tapes. But that meant the skull-cracking impact of Harley's baseball bat cut off the thought. Fallout. Your Honor, Gordon shouted. The man's insane. For the last time, Gordon, we are not here to discuss the prisoner's state of mind. Judge Wessel looked across at Gordon from the parole board panel. A look Jim had seen a dozen times this morning. Please, Wessel's watery eyes were saying, don't make this harder than it is. Gordon shot a more succinct look back. To his left, the prisoner started talking again. Come now, Your Honor. As slanderous as the commissioner's comments are, he's only expressing his frustration at the farcical nature of the so-called legal proceeding. Perhaps he doesn't understand that his presence is merely for appearance's sake. You're a decorative detective, Riddler concluded, flashing Jim a smug smile. Gordon understood all right. Thousands of prisoners, all held illegally, and then nearly murdered by Hugo Strange. The inevitable class action lawsuit had left this tedious, soul-sapping exercise in its wake. Hundreds of parole hearings that only went one way. The prisoner got their freedom back, and Gordon got a signed declaration that the offender promised to be on their best behavior from here on in. Now, Riddler continued, given that our poor commissioner must endure several hundred more of these hearings, why don't you spare us the tedium of forcing him to reiterate the state's legally soiled case against me, and simply grant me the freedom to which I'm entitled? The entire parole board spluttered indignantly. Anne's got a point, Gordon conceded, as he walked out the door. Frozen out, wrapped in cold, Nora slumbered. Deep in slumber, Nora dreamed. She dreamt of Victor, of the man he was, of the man she knew he had become. She heard him sometimes, his new metallic voice piercing through the frozen veil of her sleep like an ice pick. She heard his curses, his muttered threats, and when whatever new therapy he was working on failed, when cells refused to divide and line up like soldiers on parade, when carefully authored mutations lay stubbornly dormant in unresponsive genes, she heard his harsh, anguished screams. It had been gradual, this thawing of her consciousness back into something alive, something that flowed thickly, liquidly, from dream to memory, and could even snatch in traces of the outside world. She was trapped, imprisoned in frozen flesh, but not afraid. Fear seemed impossible for her cool brain, but there was a kind of freedom in this new existence, freedom from the Huntington's racked body she had left behind. This will work, Nora. This will work. Victor talked to her most days, worked through scientific problems as if she was his lab assistant, professed his love, reminisced about the early months of their marriage. But the memories were distant now, Nora knew. The details became vaguer every time. She wasn't just a frozen body, Nora had long realized. She was an idealized memory, frozen in time. Was this love? Victor said he could save her, but every second's passing drew them further apart. No, Nora remembered love. Love was warm. Burn noticed. Linz took a generous swig from his hip flask, then pushed through the heavy oak doors into Tommaso Panessa's office. Garfield, have a seat. His boss's plump red face and expanded waistline betrayed the fact that he was bankrupt. Financially, as well as morally. Linz shrunk into a chair as Panessa dispensed with small talk, then began to justify the unceremonious firing of this lowly FX artist. Despite critical acclaim, the Inferno had recovered less than a quarter of its inflated budget in the 6 months since its release. Such a high-profile failure, combined with increased attention from the IRS, meant that laundering millions of dollars of mob money through Panessa's studios was no longer a viable business plan. I always liked you, Linz, he said, like a veterinarian comforting an animal, before pushing the plunger on a lethal injection. But the industry is different now. As a studio, we need to adapt or perish, and that means making some tough decisions. Garfield declined the proffered cigar with a wave of his hand. He felt sick watching the greasy old bastard wrap his lips around a wad of dried leaves that cost 3 times his monthly salary. I'm sure a man of your intelligence knew this day would come, Garfield. I'm sure you've prepared for every eventuality. Linz was prepared, all right. He struck a match off the solid oak table and held it up to light the man's cigar. He met his boss's gaze for the last time, then expelled a mouthful of nitroglycerin through the dancing flame. Contingency. Slade pushed the hunting knife along the whetstone, then put a smooth scrape of steel underscoring the live combat feed. The last Cobra went offline with a burst of radio interference. Slade shook his head. Damn amateurs. A surveillance drone was circling above Bleak Island, relaying the battle below. The night was protecting the cloudburst and failing. Batman had just taken apart his support. Now it was just the two of them left. Slade glanced at the monitor, their heat signatures stalking each other through the city streets. He ran his thumb along the blade. Still dull. This was torture, forced to watch from a mobile command center. The Ace Chemicals siege, the occupation, everything. Batman had taken on an entire army and was winning. Slade didn't belong here observing. It was like watching someone play a video game badly, itching to pick up the controller. It's like the viewers. Contingency wasn't his style. He was better than that. But Scarecrow knew just how to sell it. He promised the soldier an end to those nightmares. The fear that made his hands tremble. Revenge. That is what you seek, and I can give it to you. The Knight's tank took a strike. Systems critical. A plume of white static erupted on the screen. No one was making it out of that thing alive. Seconds later, the radio crackled. It is time, Scarecrow announced. Batman is yours. Slade tested the blade. It was sharp enough now. Cheap shot. A close shot with Deadshot by Jack Ryder. Are you ready, Jack? Batman asked, looking straight at me, one eye filled with admiration, the other with respect. I'm ready, Batman, I replied bravely. Then let's do this, Jack. Together, Batman said. Ass, really. The Dark Knight stood up from behind our cover then, as we prepared to take on the deadly assassin, Deadshot, together. Was I afraid? Dear reader, I was terrified, but I couldn't let it show. Batman needed me. Then I saw it, the laser sight playing like a lover's tongue across his nipple. Batman! No! I shouted dramatically. I dived forward then, knocking the caped crusader to the ground as the bullet whizzed past my ear. Batman was back on his feet in an instant, however. He grabbed me and pulled us both into cover behind a chimney chute in the bombed ruin of Arkham City. What now, Jack? Batman asked, his voice crackling slightly under the strain. I thought for a moment. You need to hide behind cover whenever he's looking our direction, Batman, and then try and reach the vent under the helipad. Batman looked at the distance between him and the sharpshooter marksman. You can do it, Batman, I said reassuringly. I know you can. Believe in the Jack that believes in you, Batman. I think I'm going to take a short break from reading, and I'm going to give you some voice things. I think they're over here. Yes. Say tape. Wait, this is number 3. Why would they?
I thought it best we meet alone, Edward.
I know what you're doing, Crane. Talking to me away from Cobblepot and the others. You're appealing to my ego.
Is it working?
Ha! I don't have an ego, Crane. I'm far too brilliant. Especially for the likes of you.
Of course, Edward. But nonetheless, we have a mutual foe.
A foe I could vanquish with but one of my cerebral lobes intact. Yet here you are, proposing an alliance that would let you bask in my luminescent glory.
But what if you failed, Edward? What if, by some underhand means, of course, Batman were
By
to
cheating.
humiliate you again?
Absurd.
I know, Edward, it's a frightening thought. How many failures can even your enviable reputation withstand? But if the bat were distracted and tugged in too many directions by too many threats, why, then you would be assured of the upper hand.
I don't know how to respond to your ridiculous insinuations, so all I will say is this. Tell me which day you plan to attack Gotham, and maybe, just maybe, if you're lucky, I will coincidentally put my entirely separate and superior master plan into effect.
How kind, Edward. I will keep my fingers crossed.
Oh.
Who is this? Ah, Miss Kyle. You have the privilege of conversing with me, the Riddler, Gotham's premier supervillain and intellectual colossus.
And I'm honored, Eddie. Really. Bye.
Wait. I'll get to the point. I find myself in need of your unique skill set, your street smart, as your intellectually challenged kind adorably calls
My
it.
insult.
I'm going to adorably hang up on you, Eddie.
No, listen. I need something acquired, something valuable.
Sorry, Eddie. It's just that I have all these clients who aren't insecure little power-mad man-children.
Fine. You may name your fee.
Information.
Ah, the most valuable commodity of all.
Scarecrow's planning something involving Batman.
I might be furnished with the absurd particulars of his ridiculous scheme.
I'll get you what you want, Eddie, if you tell me what I need to know.
Nice double cross.
Right, okay. Riddler bot memory formatted, adaptive AI algorithms uploaded, joints oiled. Now, give my creation life! Ah, damn it! Useless hunk of dead metal. Do you want to become a semi-automated theme park mannequin? Because that's the fate in store for you.
Problem, Eddie?
Ah, Miss Kyle, you're here.
And you already have company. Almost, anyway. Did you lose your friend's battery?
Why, yes. In a manner of speaking, anyway. I'm depleted.
And always compensating for it, too.
Oh, Catwoman, your wit never ceases to occur. Now, I I need you to procure a set of rechargeable energy cells for me. Stag Enterprises Nimbus Tech will work. I'm sure Wayne Enterprises has an equivalent.
Got it. It's been a pleasure as always, Eddie. Except for the talking to you part.
At least take a glimpse at what it is you're supposed to be stealing. There, in the robot's chest cavity. Go on. It won't bite.
Eddie, there's no... What the hell? Eddie, make this thing let me go.
Batteries? You think I needed batteries? Oh, Miss Kyle, you underestimated my bespoke power supply innovations, and that was your downfall.
What is this, Eddie?
This is, you are, bait. You see, I've identified what I believe to be some sort of attachment between you and Batman. The base nature of this attachment, quite frankly, disgusts me. But it will bring him here.
You'll regret this.
The world's greatest detective does not frighten me.
He's not the reason you'll regret it.
I guess I'll read his bio first before moving back to the others. Just a second to make sure that is not muted. Okay. Alright. So we have got Eddie Nigma. Oh, it's Eddie Nashton originally. Okay. Gotham City, professional criminal. With an obsessive-compulsive need for attention, Edward Nigma is determined to be the cleverest of Gotham City's criminals, plotting elaborate trails of clues and riddles around his crimes. Batman is proven a worthy criminal, capable of unraveling the Riddler's most intricate plans. But Nigma is dedicated to creating a mystery that will confound the Dark Knight, even if he has to kill someone to do it. Humiliated by Batman on Arkham Island, and again in Arkham City, Nigma is more determined than ever to make the caped crusader bow before his superior intellect. Genius intellect, driven to test others by leaving clues to his crimes, compulsive need for attention and validation. Right, let's switch back over to... How do I even change that? I don't know how to change these. Oh, just use my mouse, Panda. Head on down to the fixation. Check one time because I get paranoid over and over. I am still unmuted. Fixation. I do not allow him visitors, Warden Shop spluttered angrily as Batman walked past. It's not a social call. Inside the cell, harsh fluorescent bulbs bounced their light off the sterile white padded walls. It's really you! You're here! The cell's straight-jacketed occupant flung himself from the corner of the room until he was slobbering, weeping at Batman's armored boots. I'm so glad it's you, Bats, Joker sobbed. They think I'm mad. Batman kicked upwards, flipped the maniac onto his back, and brought the foot back down to pin him there. 3 dead, all children. You've been locked up here since Blackgate. Batman pushed down, ribs cracked. Tell me how. The sudden violence, the guttural sound of Batman's roar surprised them both. Batman backed towards the door, appalled. Suddenly freed, Joker rolled on the floor, hysterical. I knew it, he giggled. I knew you cared. Batman drew his cape around himself, pushed the anger, the sudden self-disgust. Back down. You got out, Joker. How? Maybe I am mad, Joker scrambled backwards, leaned against the wall. Because this is the first I'm hearing of it. He paused then, and spoke with sickening sincerity. I didn't kill your kiddies, and you don't need excuses to drop by. When Sharp returned with security, Joker was alone, grinning ear to ear. I'm in his head, Sharpie. False dawn. Gotham's no kind of place to raise a child. Those were Ellen's first words when he had told her about the promotion and transfer to GCPD. To say the move had put a strain on their marriage would be an understatement. The first few months were difficult, but gradually she had established roots, made new friends, warmed to life in the city. Commissioner Gordon had even promised to use his influence to secure their son Tyler a place at McCallum Academy. Life was good. Then Arkham City happened. Ellen's doubts resurfaced. The honeymoon period was over. Oh, look at that nepotism happening. Oof. He had convinced her to stick it out for another year. If things didn't improve, they'd move back to her family in Keystone. The promise was a gamble. He hated Keystone as much as he hated the in-laws, and at the time Gotham looked like it was spiraling into the abyss. But now, 9 months on, as he stood with his family among the throng of tourists on the Lady of Gotham's viewing platform, he was satisfied that the gamble had paid off. There was a different feel about Gotham these days. Joker was dead. The nightmare of Arkham City was a distant memory, and crime continued to fall. Across the water, amid the glittering lanterns of Chinatown, Halloween decorations were being hoisted high above the street. Dad, are you going to take me to the parade? Sorry, kiddo, Daddy has to work, but your mother will take you, right, honey? Ellen jabbed him in the ribs, smiling. Whatever you say, Officer Owens. Change of heart. More guns, Mr. Wayne, said Lucius, eyeing the proposed specifications for the new Batmobile. They were in Lucius's office. Bruce's office, technically, though Lucius spent most of the time here. Bruce had turned up dutifully for the biannual departmental heads meeting at Wayne Tech. Lucius had watched Bruce work the room, smiling and shaking the hands of senior technicians, biochemists, engineers, software security experts, making just enough informed conversation with Lucius's chief systems engineer to impress yet not shock her. And then he and Bruce had retired here. Lucius doubted anyone else had noticed Wayne favoring his right leg as it recovered from whatever he had subjected it to the night before. Can you do it? Bruce asked. All the easy charm from the meeting room was gone. It would seem like unfriendliness to a casual observer, Lucius thought, but it was the opposite. Bruce did his friends, the people he trusted, the honor of not pretending. Lucius smiled. It wouldn't be easy. Wayne Tech had been out of the arms industry for a while. Could clean the guns for testing materials when he made the order, he reasoned, and do all the prototyping alone. Why the change of heart, Mr. Wayne? Lucius, always the pragmatist, had long campaigned for a more offensively equipped Batmobile, just in case. Bruce had resisted him until now, but ever since Joker died, his employer had been, not aggressive exactly. Lucius couldn't quite identify the change. Just in case, Bruce said as he left the room. Down the rabbit hole. The shears, chipped and rusted blades, squeaked open, narrowly missing the neck, as they collected a soft clump of blonde hair. There, pretty, don't move an inch. These bolted daggers smite more than a pinch. In return, a whimper stifled beneath thick duct tape. Hatter's grubby fingers gripped and squirmed around the cutter's oversized ears, one in each hand. Squinting, his tongue curled up in concentration. A pile of butchered wigs lay tossed behind him. This was the last one, and it had to be a success. In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's hope it's just hair that falls to the ground. Like a crocodile's bite, the shears clamped shut, followed by the thudded wobble of a stool as Hatter hopped down onto the ground to gauge his work. Frabjous! What a win! Now for the hairs on your chinny chin chin. Hatter placed the shears down and picked up a cutthroat razor, delicately fanning out the blade as he turned to face his terrified creation. Queen-like and flanked by a row of filed mannequins, he couldn't get over how well the blue dress fit the man's slender frame. But then that was why he chose him. He'll do for now, Hatter thought, until someone better came along. Someone just like his Alice. White noise. Dr. Kirk Langstrom surveyed the miracle of evolution splayed out on the table before him. Desmodus rotundus, the common vampire bat. It was perhaps the most magnificent creature he had ever studied up close, aside from Francine, of course. Langstrom dialed up the volume on the sound system and shut his eyes, letting Brahms' Third Symphony swell in his ears. The music conjured memories of happier times with his beautiful wife, before his diagnosis, before the rot set in. The tinnitus had been subtle at first, like the low hum of a refrigerator in another room, a mildly irritating whine he couldn't quite place, yet couldn't quite ignore. As the weeks wore on, the noise grew overwhelming, until Kirk couldn't hear nothing else unless he concentrated hard enough. The doctor's words, however, had been loud and clear. Kirk's affliction was rare, chronic, and irreversible. The thought of never enjoying his favorite symphonies again was agonizing, but it was Francine's voice he would miss the most. The subtle inflections she adopted when she teased him, and the way she laughed, as though the little girl inside her had never grown up. Kirk wasn't prepared to let all that go without a fight. He was a man of science, for Christ's sakes. And science would find a way. The answer, Kirk knew, was staring up at him from the dissection table. Legacy. Bruce gripped his father's hand as the elevator rocketed skyward. Confined spaces still made him anxious, but his father provided comfort. Just as he did on all those nights, Bruce would wake screaming, paralyzed by fear, reliving the moment he had found himself trapped inside the dank, bat-infested cave beneath the grounds of the manor. He breathed a sigh of relief when the elevator finally slowed to a halt, and the doors opened into Thomas Wayne's plush new office at the summit of Wayne Tower. Couldn't you have let him walk up the stairs? Just give him a good amount of exercise to go up those 70 floors. Take a look, son, his father said, leading Bruce to the vast windows overlooking Gotham's smog-shrouded skyline. The boy pressed his palms against the cold glass and felt a dizzying rush as he gazed down at the miniature city below. Gotham's been good to us, Bruce, and we have a responsibility to give something back. This tower is just the beginning of our legacy, a legacy I hope you'll continue long after I'm gone. Bruce looked up to meet his father's eyes. The thought of losing him had never crossed the young boy's mind, and suddenly Bruce was back in that cave alone, the piercing screech of bats filling his ears. Protocol. Nightwing grappled to the warehouse roof and secreted himself in darkness. He had chased the truck here on foot, and was using a technique Bruce had taught him to control his breathing. A plume of steaming breath could easily give away his position to the guards by the skylight. Not that they sounded very observant. I hate this stinking place. Give me Gotham any day, the first thug said. Yeah, sooner we get back there, the better, his buddy replied. Nightwing was well aware of his adopted city's shortcomings. He just didn't need to hear it from these goons. He considered taking them out, sneaking further inside. No, best to do this clean. Still, no way we could get away with something like this with Batman around. Who we gotta worry about here? Nightwing? He's like baby Batman. Two electrified Eskrima sticks bounced up and struck the base of both skulls, cutting their laughter short. That nerve was as raw now as the day he left the manor. Bruce had sent him away like a parent packing a teenage son off to college. He wasn't grown up yet, not in Bruce's eyes. Looking down through the angled glass, scores of men were busy at work. Hundreds of crates, thousands of guns. The operation was bigger than he thought, and it was heading back to Gotham. You missed this one, Bruce. This college kid was going home. Masquerade, Screw Dad, and Screw Bruce Wayne. Barbara walked through Wayne Manor, dropping the mask and cape from her masquerade ball outfit. She should have guessed that other people would have had the bad idea too. Not that it mattered. Whatever she wore, she'd still be 20 years younger than everybody here. Geez, she'd rather Dad started dating again than drag her to these things. At least she had her laptop, thank God. She just needed an access point that wasn't buried beneath 15 layers of paranoid rich guy encryption. The library, maybe? Barbara pulled back the huge oak door and slipped into the room, set her computer on the desk, and... Damn it, we're not all billionaires, Bruce. Some of us need to check we haven't been outbid on that new pair of Eskrima sticks. In fact, Barbara decided, didn't rich guys like Wayne owe people like her a little unauthorized net access from time to time? She used the program she had written to crack GCPD's network, the time Dad left her sitting in an interview room during Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. It was fast, and it found hidden networks, too. Not that Bruce Wayne would need many of. Huh. What was entrance 6? The signal was strong, close by. Even stronger than the library wireless, in fact. What the hell, Barbara thought, as she tore its defenses apart. She felt it before she heard anything. A cold gust of air, as the bookcase behind her disappeared. Payback. Penguin yelped as his foot broke through a sodden floorboard. Moments later, one of his bodyguards burst into the room, brandishing a pistol. I heard a scream. He saw Penguin trying to extricate himself. Boss, what's wrong? What does it look like? The bodyguard scrambled to find the words. He hoped it wasn't a trick question. Never mind, Penguin barked. Just help me. Holstering his gun, the bodyguard heaved Penguin free and started brushing the watery pulp from his trousers. Get out of it. Penguin snapped, finding his balance against a windowsill. Out there, looming above, Gotham's latest monstrosity, Wayne Plaza. This was my old man's study, Penguin proclaimed. It'd kill him if he had to see that poxy thing day and night. Cobblepot Manor had been derelict for years, left to rot. In Penguin's mind, just the way that Bruce Wayne wanted it, a permanent reminder of defeat. The bodyguard was tugging at a strip of wallpaper. So I guess we wait for the compensation, huh? Not likely. Penguin scooted back to the broken floorboard, dropped to his knees, and plunged his arm into the hole. You think I'm waiting around for Gotham City to cough up? You got another thing coming. With that, he pulled out a yellowing wad of paper. The deeds to a company operating out of Bloodhaven. North Refrigeration. Penguin pocketed his ace and lit a cigar. Don't count the Cobblepots out yet, Mr. Wayne. Dollatron. Mr. O'Neill staggered into the spotlight, alone, gripping a briefcase. Beyond the harsh light, the depths of the circus tent were a black void. He squinted, trying to focus. His sleep-deprived mind was playing tricks. He thought for a moment he could see an audience. Welcome! A voice boomed operatically. The spotlight shifted. There he was, the pig-masked man who had summoned him. The professor, standing proudly behind a small boy, his blood-tinged hands finger-drumming those delicate shoulders. A pained murmur sounded from the child, muffled through a plain white face mask. At its edge, a shoreline of weeping, fused flesh, his salted slug of a tongue writhing in the mouth slit. The horror wasn't unimaginable. It was there in front of him. It was fact. Just as he was a parent, and this was his son. Butchered and transformed, O'Neill's stomach imploded and bent him double, retching onto the straw-bedded ground. Daddy Man is upset, whined the professor. Daddy Man not pleased with our work. He loosed a terrifying squeal. The young boy moaned like a busted instrument. I've got money, O'Neill wiped the bowel from his mouth, then popped the briefcase and threw it to the ground. Wads of green packed tight. Give me my son, please. The professor shook his head. Not your son now. My Dollatron. Before O'Neill could fathom the meaning of that word, something caught his eye. There in the void they were being watched. Faces shuffled closer. Plain white masks, dozens of them, encircled. Sons, mothers, fathers, once like him. Scar tissue. Victor savored the familiar warmth of arterial blood splashing his face as he eased another of Penguin's lackeys into oblivion. He wiped the blade on his victim's biker jacket, then searched his forearm for a clean plot of flesh amid the lattice work of scars and fresh incisions. It had been an awful, eventful night, and the blood loss was starting to drain Victor's energy. He had planned to liberate just a handful of Penguin and Two-Face's men, leave the bodies in plain sight, and send a message to the Scarecrow, seemed determined to exclude him from his plans. But when he tallied the first victim, felt the knife's cold steel, Victor knew he wouldn't be satisfied until he felled a dozen or more. Sirens howled in the distance, and Zaz looked up to see the sky illuminated by the symbol of a bat. It seemed Scarecrow's Halloween festivities had already begun. Instinctively, Victor's fingers traced the smooth patch of skin he was saving, especially for Batman. Let Scarecrow have his fun tonight, he thought. Batwoman would no doubt humiliate him and the others who had followed his farcical plan. Then Zaz would find him. That patch of skin wouldn't be smooth for long. I figured this was Zaz, but I wasn't too sure when I was searching for it. Showtime. Live in 10, Vicky, her cameraman said. They had the steps to themselves. Huddles of reporters looked at her enviously over the police cordon. It was a technicality, really. But as a material witness to Sharp's crime, she had given evidence at the courthouse that morning. She had been impossible to get rid of after that. Showtime. Good evening, Gotham. I'm Vicky Vale. Behind me stands Solomon Wayne Courthouse. Once part of Arkham City, today the venue in which former Mayor Quincy Sharp was acquitted of his participation in that conspiracy. I am vindicated, Sharp screamed, bursting out of the courthouse and into a bombardment of camera flashes. It was Vicky he honed in on, despite his lawyer's protests. Pleased with the not guilty verdict, Quincy? Vale asked, her voice level, calm reporter tones. Oh, I'm guilty of maintaining order, punishing the guilty, weaning this thankless city off its reliance on vigilante justice, Sharp spluttered. What about funneling weapons into Arkham City? Vale asked, an edge to her voice now. Weapons like the rocket launcher that killed my helicopter pilot and friend. Unthinkable, Sharp said, which is precisely why I was acquitted on that and all other charges. Your journalistic objectivity has been compromised by trauma, Miss Vale. Are you sure, Quincy? Vale asked, handing him a sheet of paper. Because it looks like your signature on this requisition order. Sharp froze. The cameras kept flashing. She should have said it in court. But it was her scoop after all. What? Ah, yes, my scoop, so I will not get him imprisoned, and just to make it a news story that he was acquitted when he was actually guilty. That's terrible. Taking out the trash. Garbage collectors, said Pipes, sat in the Hell's Gate offices, holding the stained second-hand uniforms at arm's length, like a new parent with their first dirty diaper. You completely sure about this, boss? We're sure, Dent growled from across the desk. Pipes didn't argue. It wasn't nice Harvey speaking. You could tell after a while. The way a group of school friends could tell the pair of identical twins among them apart. It's not about the voice, not always. It's about the face. Which eye swings around faster to look at you? Which side of the mouth? The lantern jaw or the charred, twisted lips? The smile plays across first. We need a front for the bank job, Dent said, and you us. All of you. The compensation claims. Arkham City had been corrupt as hell, sure. But Pipes had run-ins with enough dirty cops to know justice flowed one way in Gotham. Well, it does if you haven't got the best lawyer the city ever saw running your class action suit from behind the scenes. I get it, boss. I do, Pipes stammered. It's just Hell's Gate, waste disposal, and legal services? Really? Dent leant forward. Leant? Pipes tried not to shudder as the weeping skin peeled from the leather chair. Trust me, nice Harvey answered. They're one and the same in this town. Touché. Office romance. Robin stood at Oracle's side as they watched the 3D model of an inconspicuous blood cell rotate on the back computer's monitor. He's still showing no symptoms? Oracle asked as she delved deeper into the cell structure. Cell walls were intact, plasma healthy and clear. Nothing, Tim replied. Oracle glanced over her shoulder. Tim was staring straight ahead, arms folded, the muscle in his jaw flexed. No smile. Not today. He was working hard. They both were. Gotham demanded everything of them, every day. Come on, Mr. Adams, Oracle asked, fighting off a wave of exhaustion. What are you hiding? The protein channels, maybe? Tim leant in to point at the image. When he drew his arm away, his hand grazed Barbara's neck. Barbara stopped typing, caught her breath. Tim went still. The moment drew itself out, each second marked by the clock tower's mechanical heartbeat. And then Tim turned away. We can't do this. Not again. Hematology never was your strong suit, huh, Drake? Barbara joked painfully, but Tim was already gone. She sat there wondering why he didn't come back, and why she didn't try and stop him, like he must have hoped she would. But why make things harder than they had to be? Gotham came first, the job. It's the choice they made. They could turn their backs on each other, but not on that. Revenant. Zach hated Mondays. He'd been working the early shift at the morgue for all of 3 weeks, and he was already starting to resemble a pallid corpse. The bourbon-induced hangover certainly wasn't helping. His stomach had been growling all morning, and it was still an hour until lunch. His bowels lurched at the thought of another plate of slop from the commissary. Only this time the accompanying growl was deeper, more resonant from another place. He scanned the room for the source. The stiffs sometimes released pockets of gas when they started to decompose. Pungent gifts from the afterlife. But this sound was different, almost like a word trying to be formed, trapped by shuddering lips. It was coming from one of the new cold storage units. These components weren't supposed to have locks, but this one had 4. They weren't usually this big either, and they certainly didn't have any WingTech branding. The door swung open and plumes of dry ice poured out around Zach's legs. As the lights flickered on, he could see the outline of a hulking corpse spread out on the floor. It was inhumanly huge. And breathing? Bor, 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 bor. Zach slipped on the tiles and landed hard, sending his glasses skidding across the floor. Feeling with his hands, he worked his way over the huge slabs of cold muscle to the wrist, as thick as his thigh. He wiped the frost off the plastic ID tag and strained to see the name, Solomon Grundy, like the nursery rhyme. The body shifted, its giant lungs filling with ice-cold air. The voice was rough, guttural, angry. Born on a Monday. Lab rat. Pyrophobia, fear of fire. Some fears make more sense than others, Alex thought, crunching his eyes shut against the flames and retreating to the furthest corner of his cell. He read a case study once, when he was sane, about a man with pharmacophobia, fear of medicine. The poor man suffered from epileptic seizures, yet refused to take his pills. Madness, counterintuitive, misfiring self-preservation instinct, rejecting the very things that preserved. But fear of fire? That made evolutionary sense. Alec comforted himself, picturing humanity's ancestors scattering across the veldt as flames licked dry grass. He wasn't mad. He was just too sensitive. His phobia was just awareness of the damage that the inferno raging in front of him could do to his delicate tissues. If it was real. Simon had summoned him, Alex remembered, accused him of betrayal, and now he was here, a test subject, meat for the grinder, brain matter for the thresher, more data for Stag. They had stopped pumping toxin into his cell hours ago, but still the fires burned around him, a phantom wall of flame. They started closing in. Alex Sartorius screamed as the flames consumed him. Screams of terror, not pain. To an outside observer, the result was slapstick. A white-coated scientist flailing at nothing. But all Alex could see was flames eating at his flesh, gnawing down to the bone. Critter. Roach wrenched against his restraints and watched the beetles skitter across Scarecrow's gloved hand. He wasn't sure what made him sicker, Scarecrow's creepy new face, or the rocking of the damn cargo container they were hidden inside. Joker would find him, surely. They couldn't have gone far from the steel mill. Fascinating creatures, aren't they? Scarecrow said. So small. Crane was holding a bug by one of its legs now, as the other 5 limbs scrabbled at the air. A wave hit the boat and the poor thing swung back and forth. No warning colors either. He dropped the bug to the floor, its skull towards Roach, who fought back to the urge to stamp on it. He didn't want to look afraid. Did they want their predators to fall for it? Scarecrow asked, watching another insect creep across his palm. To sink their teeth into this fragile shell? Scarecrow made a fist, crushing the insect in his hand. The beast that does so will regret it, Scarecrow explained, wiping up the mashed-up insect into a glass beaker. Not through sickness or death. He added chemicals to the beaker now, muddling the mixture into a greenish-black, sludgy cocktail. But through the hallucinations this creature's toxic secretions cause, through the beating of their overworked heart, the adrenaline coursing through their bloodstream, through fear. He turned to Roach now, the beaker in one hand, a funnel in the other. My toxin failed me at Arkham. Together we will ensure that never happens again. Social outcast. Why do you attack Batman? He is based. You are a Riddler deleted the email and all others like it, as prickly hot anger and shame squirmed through his insides. No point denying it. Crusader Gate had been a disastrous social media campaign. He couldn't understand it. It seemed the internet's idiotic and easily roused rabble could froth itself into a full-fat cappuccino of frenzy over white knights, but offer up a dark one, on a plate, soy latte's worth of indignation at best. Didn't they understand what Batman had done? The memories rise up like bile. Riddler's back in Arkham City. Another sneeze. The memories rise up like bile. Riddler's back in Arkham City. Batman places an explosive hat, Riddler's own invention, on his head, forces him to march in endless circles lest the device detonates. It's hours before Riddler realizes the trick, that the explosives had been diffused. Having borne witness to his shame, this computer was tainted now. Yet Riddler paused. He still had electrical burns from the last time he'd angrily ripped 128 gigs of RAM from a motherboard. Pretty sure you can't get 128 gigs at the moment, or even back then. His search for a hammer concluded when another email arrived. To the owner of Enigmatic Holdings Limited, Gotham City Council hereby approves your purchase of the disused sewerage and water processing facilities beneath the city, it began. For the first time in months, Edward smiled. The demon's head. The messenger dropped down onto the puddled street and stayed crouched in shadow, her hand resting on the hilt of a katana. Caution was innate, trained into any sinew and fiber of her body. She waited for the drunken couple to stagger past and approached her canvas, a wall of decaying posters. She unfolded the stencil and held it in place. The small nozzle, concealed in her wrist guard, released a pressurized spray of black paint. With a few waves of her hand, the image was complete. It would join the others she had spent the night emblazoning on Gotham's walls. Most people would think it was just another work of art. They wouldn't know of the war that raged, the war to bring him back, to resurrect Ra's al Ghul. The air whistled. Instinct turned her head as a blade grazed skin and embedded itself in the center of the dripping insignia. The assassin stepped out of her throwing stance and drew his sword from her back. You openly defy the League of Assassins. The penalty is death. Wiping the blood from her cheek, the messenger faced her enemy. There is no league without him. That is the truth. Surveying her surroundings, the assassin approached. He will not find his body. What makes you think we're still looking? The messenger unsheathed her katana. The demon's head will live again. Alright, last one, then some more audios. Visiting hours. Prison. The irony wasn't lost on Quincy Sharp. That didn't mean he appreciated it. Well, Quincy cried on the hard, cramped bed in his small, sterile cell, longing for the splendor of his city hall. He wished his master was here. Dr. Hugo Strange had awoken Quincy, lifted him into a higher of awareness made him mayor of Gotham. The therapy, the drugs, the loss of free will, a fair price for such a gift. In return, Quincy had defended Strange through both trials. Even now he clutched onto Strange's remaining secrets, dear mementos of a parted friend. It's okay, Quincy, he heard Strange say. I'm here. Hugo? Quincy asked, wiping his tears on the cheap Arkham City jumpsuit the guards made him wear. There he was, Dr. Hugo Strange, with his radiant white lab coat and paternal smile. Quincy, my servant, my friend, Hugo said. We don't have much time. Quincy was crying with joy. How, Master? How did you? Psychology, Quincy. Science. I'm a being of suggestion, etched into your subconscious by my living self. The therapy, Quincy realized. The hypnosis. The drugs. Stay with me, Master, please. Quincy tried to grab a hold of Phantom hand. I cannot, Strange said, looking benevolently down at Quincy, stroking his hair with a touch the prisoner couldn't feel. But there's one last service you can perform for me. Anything, Hugo, please. First, remove the sheet from your bed, Quincy. Tie it to the light fixture on the ceiling. Jeez. What a way to thank him for all his work, I guess. Just unmute this now. And reopen this. And we are going straight to the Ham Knight. Oh, no. Besides the discovery of a militia training facility in South America, virtually nothing is known of the Arkham Knight until his arrival in Gotham, where he quickly earned himself a fearless reputation amongst the city's leading criminals. Working together with Scarecrow, he has sworn to kill Batman and will stop at nothing until he is dead. Expert knowledge of Batman's tactics and fighting style, highly skilled military tactician, robotically synthesized voice.
Patient notes. Gordon, Barbara, session 1. Wake up, Miss Gordon. Wake up. Inject her. Another dose.
I'm awake, you bastard.
Good. Who is Batman?
Ask him when he gets here.
Thank you, Miss Gordon. I was afraid that my preferred interrogation method would not be necessary. Do you know why I wear these syringes on my hands?
Because you're insane?
I usually disperse my toxin as an aerosol. It's efficient, but not pure. Now, the terror I can elicit with a concentrated dose administered directly into the bloodstream, that is beautiful to witness. The long-term damage is more severe, of course.
Are you done talking?
I am, but you have barely begun. You'll be incoherent when my toxin dissolves the wall between your conscious mind and your suppressed subconscious nightmares. But as those fears slowly recede, they'll take this pathetic defiance with them.
You're still talking.
Very well. Take that fellow away from her. He's gone. Did he hurt you?
Spare me the good cop, bad cop routine.
No. See, you're supposed to keep me talking. Play for time. Wait for Batman. That's what he taught you, right?
I've got nothing to say to you.
Me? I talked for hours. Because I knew, right? Batman was on his way to save me. And the bastard just let me talk. Eventually, I just ran out of things to say. So trust me, you can't count on Bruce to save you.
Bruce.
Yeah, Scarecrow doesn't know. It's our little secret. Now here's another. Batman likes to play the hero, Barbara, and he's pretty good at it. But it's an act. Batman's not about saving the innocent. No. He's about punishing the guilty. Now, don't get me wrong. He'll look for you, or he'll try. But when it comes down to it, when he has to make a choice between you and the mission, he'll choose the mission. Every time.
You're wrong.
Look me in the eye and say that.
Jason? Jason, this is wrong.
This is
He mourned for you. Come home.
I can't go back. You don't know what Joker did, Barbara. He hollowed me out and filled me back up with hate and...
Jason, we can fix it.
I can fix it! I know now what to do. I take all this pain, all this blackness, and I put it all in a bullet, and I put it right between Bruce's eyes.
Joker's dead, Jason. You want revenge on the man who hurt you? You've got one shot. Come back to the manor. Let us help you. Don't let Joker win.
How's Alfred?
He misses you. We all do.
The cloudburst is charged tonight. It's time. Someone put a gag on her. Anyone hurts her, they're a dead man.
Right, let's just get started from this. Why is Aaron Cash at the start? And Batman's like 6th. Also, he was in the comics. I didn't know Arkham Asylum was a thing. I keep forgetting that. A Gothamite through and through, Aaron Cash has spent his entire working life serving the city's law enforcement and security services. He rose to become one of the most senior and respected guards at Arkham Asylum, which is also where he suffered a violent attack by Killer Croc, resulting in the loss of his hand and a long-standing hatred of the villainous creature. He is a trusted friend of both Batman and Commissioner Gordon, who, following the closure of Arkham City, reinstated him back to GCPD, where he started his career. Missing left hand, proficiency with firearms, great physical strength. Who's this? Albert King, heavyweight boxer. Showed up in Arkham Knight. Albert King, aka the Gotham Goliath, is a legendary prize fighter with the most consecutive knockouts since records began. Days before his testimonial fight, King checked into Gotham General for a routine procedure, only to become infected with Joker's mutated blood. Hospitalizing his entire family in a fit of rage, King appears to have taken on the more violent and sadistic aspects of Joker's personality. Highly proficient fighter, superhuman strength, uncontrollable rage. Now we're back to Alfred. Jeez, they didn't order these at all. After a varied career, Alfred Pennyworth was employed as the Wayne family's butler. When Bruce Wayne's parents were killed, Alfred raised the young orphan and reluctantly aided him in his quest to become the Batman. Alfred's many skills, ranging from cooking to combat medicine, make him Batman's staunchest ally, and his formal demeanor helps ground the Dark Knight and deflect those who might otherwise suspect Bruce Wayne's true identity. Skilled actor, trained in emergency medical techniques, proficiency with mechanical and computer systems, expert in domestic sciences, unflappable manner. Skip past the night to Azrael. Michael Lane, police officer. He showed up in 2009. Wow. Just in time for the Arkham City a few years later. Years ago, Michael Lane was a part of a program to create the ultimate crime fighter. Instead, it turned him into an insane criminal. Thwarted by Batman, Michael confessed his sins to a priest of the secret religious sect, the Order of Saint Demas. They recruited Michael to fight evil as their crusader Azrael, wearing the mythical suit of sorrows and wielding the sword of sin. In Arkham City, Azrael prophesies Batman's downfall. Having studied the Dark Knight's fighting style, Azrael sees himself as the Caped Crusader's natural successor. The suit of sorrow bestows enhanced strength, stamina, and speed. The sword of sin burns with the souls of the damned. Prone to fits of insanity, military and police-trained tactician. The Batman. When his parents were gunned down in front of him, young Bruce Wayne resolved to rid Gotham City of the criminal element that took their lives. He trained extensively to achieve mental and physical perfection, in addition to mastering martial arts, detective techniques, and criminal psychology. Dressing as a bat to prey on criminals' fears, Batman fights crimes with the aid of specialized gadgets and vehicles operating out of his secret Batcave below Wayne Manor. Following the events of Arkham City, many of Gotham's citizens are convinced that Batman broke his defining rule by killing his arch nemesis, the Joker. Trained physical and mental peak, arsenal of gadgets, vehicles, and advanced technology, inventor, detective, genius level intellect, expert in most known forms of martial arts, trained in all aspects of criminology. Hey, Bruce Wayne! Born into the wealthy Wayne family, Bruce Wayne had an idyllic childhood, but after witnessing his parents' violent murder in Crime Alley, Bruce dedicated his life to battling criminals. He circled the globe for years, training his mental and physical abilities to their peak. Gotham City welcomed him home, not knowing that high society's favorite billionaire playboy is also the Batman. Following the Arkham City debacle and the prison's subsequent closure, Bruce Wayne once again came to Gotham's rescue, footing the bill for its extensive redevelopment. Billionaire played by Batman, most eligible bachelor. Selina Kyle, professional thief. Oh, she was in Batman #1. An orphan who learned to survive on the mean streets of Gotham, Selina Kyle turned to thievery to survive. Determined to do it with style, she learned martial arts and trained in gymnastics to perfect her skills. Her criminal activities are tempered by a reluctant altruism, making her an inconsistent villain and occasional hero. She maintains a complicated adversarial relationship with Batman that frequently turns flirtatious and occasionally romantic. Little is known about her movements since the closure of Arkham City, but a string of high-profile burglaries suggests she is still at large in Gotham. Trained gymnast and athlete, expert hand-to-hand combatant, highly skilled with whips, unrivaled stealth capabilities, obsessed with stealing famous and well-protected items. Christina Bell, Executive Director at Queen Industries. After a successful career in finance, Christina recently joined the board of the directors at Queen Industries in Star City. During a blood transfusion following a miscarriage, Christina was exposed to Joker's Titan-infected blood. On returning to work, she took a knife to a board meeting and brutally murdered 11 senior executives, carving smiles on her victims' faces. Christina has adopted several facets of Joker's personality, notably his obsession with Batman. Expert business acumen, violent obsession with Batman, highly unpredictable. Ooh, Deacon Blackfire has voicing. Lots of voice things, jeez. Cult leader, 6'1", 170, The Cult in 1988. A power-crazed, charismatic conman and cult leader, Deacon Blackfire indoctrinates Gotham's homeless population to serve in his cult and aid him in his quest to control Gotham. Blackfire claims to be over 100 years old, a Native American shaman who is entombed alive after being found guilty of killing a tribal chief and committing heresy. He claims the secret to his eternal youth is bathing in buckets of human blood, and he uses his charms and powers of manipulation to brainwash an army of devout followers to provide victims for his sacrifices. Charismatic cult leader, impassioned public speaker, claims to be immortal.
Tape 8, October 15th. Still no sign of the preacher. No records, nothing. Something tells me he won't stay hidden for long. For the Lord hath designed a most cruel and dark place. Yes, he has. Where we put the heathen, the guilty men and women, in his pavilion of pain, where lakes of fire burn and hot coals fall as hailstones from a black sky. You see, Gotham's days are numbered. I've seen it. He's done shown it to me. He's shown me the fire. He's shown me the bodies right will be made princes of all the earth. Amen. Blackfire's sermons are getting worse. He's not waiting for Armageddon. He's bringing it. And I'm gonna be right there when he does. Tape 11, October 19th. Going back over some old interviews I did on Gotham's homeless. Numbers were dropping. No one knew why. I think there might have been a link to Blackfire.
My name's Terry Noonan. I worked the sewers best part of 20 years. You name it, I've seen it. Walls of fat so thick they'd swallow you up. Rats as big as dogs. Enough teeth and hair to give you nightmares. It's a different world down there.
I understand you've got a theory, Mr. Noonan.
Terry, please.
Some people like to think the homeless are disappearing because Gotham's pulling them out of the gutter. But you think different?
I've heard things. Strange things. Voices. Chanting.
Chanting?
Like church. It's been like this for months. I hear it more often, and it's getting louder.
Have you ever tried to find it?
Hey, I ain't stupid. Besides, none of my business. If you were smart, you'd think the same.
Noonan went missing not long after this. Cops found his body stuffed in one of those giant fat deposits. They said it was an accident. I figure he found something he wasn't supposed to. What the hell are you up to, Blackfire?
Oh, okay.
Tape 23, October 26th. I was searching the archives and this little gem cropped up. Cops arrest a vagrant who's had a run-in with Blackfire. Guess we're starting to get some idea what this whack job's been up to.
Please state your name.
I haven't got a name. Not anymore. We're his children. His disciples.
Who?
Deacon Blackfire. The one true messenger. The Redeemer. He can save Gotham. He can save us all.
Well, he sounds like a nice guy.
You mock me, you fool. You don't know the power you're dealing with.
Okay, why don't you tell me?
1,000 years he has walked the earth, and 1,000 more he will reign. You're smiling. You think I'm crazy?
Hey, you're free to believe whatever you want.
I doubted him too once, and then I saw it. The blood is his power. He bathes in it.
I'm sure he does.
You can see it in their eyes when he draws the blade across their throat. They see it then. The light.
Okay, buddy, take it easy.
I have to leave. We have work to do. The final sacrifice is coming. It will grant him everlasting life.
Hey, sit down. Restrain him.
Get off me. An army of homeless killers? Human sacrifices? Bathing in blood? I hope they're planning another sacrifice. We can't win the awards with our little human tragedy.
Knowing what happens to them makes it funnier. I'm gonna skip that for now because I have a bunch more that only have like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tapes. Slade Wilson. Wait, New Teen Titans, 1980. Wow. Originally a soldier in the U.S. Army, Slade Wilson was part of an experimental super soldier program where he gained enhanced strength, agility, and intelligence. Deathstroke became a mercenary soon after the experiment and rapidly gained a reputation as one of the world's greatest assassins. Following his defeat and incarceration at the hands of Batman, Deathstroke escaped from the maximum security wing of Blackgate Penitentiary and continued working as a gun for hire, hoping that one day he'd get another shot at his nemesis. Wait, he escaped from it? I thought he was basically like let out. Excuse me. Medically enhanced physical and mental abilities. Master tactician and combat expert. Missing his right eye. Chief Underhill. Raymond Underhill, the fire chief who was arrested. Born and raised Gotham City, Ray Underhill's life began tragically when his mother died in childbirth. It was then left to his father to care for him, a highly decorated firefighter and Station 17 fire chief. The firehouse became Ray's home, and the firefighters who worked there his family. It was a special bond that drove Ray to one day succeed his father as the station chief, and became a well-respected firefighter in his own right. Post-Arkham City, facing cutbacks and redundancies, Ray was determined to do whatever he could to protect his family and the station he calls home. Extensive knowledge of fire protection and driven to help others. And Firefly right next to him, Garfield Lynns, serial arsonist. He doesn't have hair, it used to be brown. Garfield Lynns was a special effects artist and pyrotechnic expert in the motion pictures industry before he was made redundant and forced into poverty. Lynns became a petty criminal and serial arsonist, torching huge swaths of Gotham City to feed his pyromania. After setting fire to a chemical plant, Lynns was caught in the blaze and suffered burns to 90% of his body, leaving him hideously scarred. Upon his recovery, Lynns designed a custom battlesuit featuring a military-grade flamethrower and jetpack. Oh right, he's the guy that was fired. I forgot about that. X-Men Pyrotechnic Explosive, Pyromaniac, and the battlesuit again. Jim Gordon. James W. Gordon. Detective Comics. Police Commissioner James W. Gordon dedicated his career to cleaning up the corruption in the Gotham City Police Department, a goal he has come a long way towards accomplishing. He has been equally tough on crime and in the pursuit of making Gotham City safe for all its citizens. Gordon has forged an uneasy alliance with Gotham's other top crime fighter, the mysterious vigilante known as Batman. Since the closure of Arkham City and the death of Joker, Gordon has overseen a period of relative calm in Gotham, with crime steadily declining. On the back of these successes, many see Gordon as a prime candidate to become the city's next mayor. Experienced police officer, trained criminologist, proficient in hand-to-hand fighting. Yeah, we really saw that in Arkham Origins. Jeez. It was better than Batman. Expert marksman. Harley Quinn. Harleen F. Quinzel, professional criminal. Dang, she came out in 1993. I didn't know she was that young. An Arkham Asylum psychiatrist assigned to treat the Joker, Dr. Harleen Quinzel, instead became obsessively fixated on her patient, believing herself to be in love with him. She helped him escape and took on her own criminal identity as Harley Quinn, a violent and unpredictable felon whose only motivation was achieving the Joker's approval. Because of his cruel and mercurial nature, this in some ways made her just another of his victims, albeit a very dangerous one. Since her ill-fated attempt to avenge her lover's death in Arkham City, Harley is rumored to have assumed control of Joker's criminal gang and begun plotting another attack on the man she holds responsible, the Batman. Surprising strength and stamina, superior gymnastic skills, total disregard for human life. Let's go ahead and play these.
Who's there?
It's Mr. Adams. We spoke on the phone.
Oh, come in, but slowly, and keep your hands up.
Oh, it's him.
Thank you for agreeing to see me, Miss Quinzel.
Well, you said you know something about Mr. J. Start talking.
Well, it's not every day I have a gun pointed at my face. It's rather exciting, isn't it?
You gotta go 2 seconds before I blow your wrinkly old brains out. What's so funny?
I'm just remembering an old joker. Oh, sorry, I meant joke.
I don't listen to jokes no more.
What's red and flat? A baby under an anvil. Why couldn't the policeman catch the thief? Because his legs have been cut off. A father takes his family to the amusement park. They all die in a car crash on the way home.
You're real funny. You know, I ain't laughed like that since. I miss my pudding.
Oh, poor Harley. I've missed you too.
I'm glad he waited to say that until then.
Patient interview, October 15th. Please state your name.
Henry Adams. What is this place, Batman? Where am I?
You're here for your own safety, Henry. You could be sick.
Sick? I've never felt better in my whole life.
Sure. No mood swings, behavioral changes.
Absolutely not. Those people in the other cells, are they?
Their blood was contaminated. Like yours.
What? I mean, I'm not the only one.
I think you're the key to helping them.
Those smiles. I've seen that before. It's him. The Joker.
We'll find a cure, Henry.
We're in danger, Batman. You can't risk that kind of evil escaping into the world. You should kill them. All of them. It's the only way to be sure.
That's all for now, Henry. Interview over.
Mrs. Q, this is Mr. J. Come in. Over.
Read me loud and clear, Mr. J.
My infiltration remains utterly flawless. Operation Pudding Break is a go.
Yippee! Oh, my baby.
They're in rude health, my dear. All dying to meet Mommy. Now, you remember the plan, don't you?
Yeah, I don't really want to hit you over the head, though. It's gonna hurt.
We've been over this, my little knuckle duster. It's the only way to convince Batman that I'm to be trusted. You do want to kill him, don't you?
Yeah, okay.
Ooh, have to dash. Bird Boy's coming. See you soon. Mr. J, over and out.
I love having someone that isn't Mark Hamill acting as the Joker. That's hilarious. He appears only in this, of course. He was a principal and teacher. Highly respected principal of the esteemed McCallum Academy, Henry Adams was exposed to Joker's blood during a routine treatment at Gotham General. Displaying none of the symptoms experienced by the other victims, Henry's immunity could be the key to developing a cure. Though initially cooperative, Henry's patience is wearing thin, and he's desperate to return home to his family. Professor of Biology. Hush. It's nice you could almost not see the scars at all. I want to compare him real quick with the pretty good. Pretty good. Thomas Tommy Elliot, surgeon serial killer. Formerly brown and now blue eyes. Formerly reddish brown and now black hair. Showed up in 2003. Tommy Elliot and Bruce Wayne were childhood friends and, unknown to Bruce, dark reflections of each other. After a tragic incident claimed one of his parents, the traumatized Tommy developed a pathological hatred for the Waynes. An incredibly gifted surgeon as an adult, Elliot has spent decades planning an elaborate revenge scheme to destroy Bruce Wayne. Peak physical conditioning, world-class surgeon, master of disguise, determined to destroy Bruce Wayne. Jack Ryder, our boy Jack, showed up in '68. Jack Ryder is an investigative reporter turned controversial talk show host, well known for his aggressive manner and his relentless determination to get to the truth. Following his brush with death in Arkham City, Ryder wrote a series of editorials condemning the facility. By his own admittance, Ryan's testimony proved influential in the state's decision to release a number of falsely imprisoned inmates, many of whom received substantial compensation packages. Determined reporter, known for his aggressive pursuit of stories, famous for his controversial talk show, utterly lacking in self-awareness. That last bit. Oh, it's Jason. Crime fighter deceased. Showed up in '83. Raised in the slums of Gotham City, Jason was the son of a petty criminal and a drug-addicted mother. When his father was imprisoned and his mother died, Jason found himself struggling to survive, stealing car parts for cash. This led to Batman discovering Jason in an alleyway, trying to steal the tires off the Batmobile. Batman took him in and trained him to replace Dick Grayson as Robin. While Jason didn't share Dick's cheerful enthusiasm and acrobatic abilities, life on the streets had made him tough and fiercely driven. Frustrated at Batman's unwillingness to kill the Joker, in spite of his heinous crimes, Jason set out to do it himself, only to get himself captured, tortured, and killed by the Clown Prince, leaving Batman riddled with guilt. Exponent of the martial arts, proficient detective capabilities, explosive temper. Ooh, Johnny Boy! Jonathan Brown. Singer in Gotham City, made up for this game. Jonathan Brown, aka Johnny Charisma, made a name for himself on the cabaret circuit before hitting the big time when he was discovered by a national talent show. Charisma is no stranger to controversy with a string of drug offenses and a DUI, but his assault on a groupie was uncharacteristically violent. Since his infection, Charisma has been displaying signs of megalomania, with his behavior echoing the sadistic showmanship of the Joker. Trained vocalist, narcissistic baritone. Let's head on down to see the Joker. Unknown name, which is great. Batman's arch nemesis, the self-styled clown prince of crime, has a capacity for incredible violence and a penchant for creating deadly mayhem. His death in Arkham City, resulting from an earlier Titan overdose, sent shockwaves through Gotham's underworld, with many holding Batman directly responsible. Despite his death, Joker's legacy lives on when it emerges that several people were exposed to his Titan-infected blood and are now displaying symptoms of a Joker-like personality. Unrepentant homicidal maniac, surprisingly strong hand-to-hand combatant, unknown past, employs various deadly weapons, often based on party gag items, uses a fatal toxin that stretches victims' faces into Joker-like grin that you only see once in Arkham Origins.
2 years ago, I uncovered Joker's plot to unleash a genetically enhanced army on Gotham. The drug he used to modify his henchmen was called Titan. Before I could stop him, Joker ingested a massive dose of the Titan formula and mutated into a gigantic abomination. I managed to defeat him, but his overdose had devastating side effects. Joker was dying, and he needed a cure. To ensure my cooperation, he infected my blood with his own, leaving me no choice but to help him. But that wasn't all. He contaminated Gotham's blood banks, too. The result? The patients currently quarantined here. Joker's mutated blood behaves like a prion infection, attacking the brain and transforming these people into him. Unless we find a way to reverse the process, no one will be able to stop what he has unleashed.
Thank you, Batman. I was hoping for a Joker line, but understandable. Kirk and Francine, biologists, and they also existed in 1970. Kirk Langstrom and Francine Lee met as PhD students and would go on to publish a joint research paper on the treatment of human illnesses via gene splicing across species lines. Marrying soon after graduation, Kirk and Francine continued to work together, despite struggles to find funding and widespread skepticism of their hypotheses. In recent years, their work has become threatened by Kirk's encroaching hearing loss, though the pair believe they have identified an opportunity in his diagnosis. Gifted research scientists, pioneering gene therapists, deteriorating hearing on Kirk's side. Lucius Fox, CEO of Wayne, and showed it up in 1979. Current CEO and president of Wayne Enterprises, Lucius Fox is a sought-after businessman all over the corporate world and one of Bruce Wayne's closest allies. Fox is a shrewd and experienced businessman, entrepreneur, and inventor. Aside from running Wayne Enterprises and the Wayne Foundation, Fox also takes pride in developing weapons, gadgets, vehicles, armor for Bruce Wayne's alter ego, Batman. His latest contributions to the Dark Knight's arsenal include the new Batmobile and a whole suite of new and upgraded gadgets. Incredible business acumen, inventor and entrepreneur, warm, friendly, intensely loyal. The Man-Bat, Dr. Kirk Langstrom, spoiler, 265 pounds, a gifted scientist diagnosed with a rare condition causing chronic deafness. Kirk Langstrom went to extreme lengths to develop a cure. Splicing his DNA with that of a vampire bat transformed Kirk into a hideous monstrosity known as Man-Bat. After inadvertently killing his wife Francine, Kirk embarked on a deadly rampage across Gotham before he was captured and cured of his affliction. Superhuman strength and agility, highly acute hearing, natural sonar. The Wayne parents, one was a physician, the other a philanthropist. Heir to the Wayne family fortune, Thomas Wayne also inherited the family's sense of duty towards the city of Gotham. Unlike earlier Waynes, however, Thomas was adamant in pursuit of a career of his own, working as a surgeon at Gotham General Hospital. Martha Wayne, Nacane, administered the Wayne family charities and foundations in his stead, spearheading campaigns to solve Gotham's homelessness and poverty problems. So wait, he was the physician, she was... Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense now. I look at the left and the right. Their joint murder behind Gotham's Monarch Theater shocked Gotham, scarred the young Bruce Wayne, and would eventually lead to the formation of his Batman identity. Vast wealth, strong sense of civic duty. Nightwing. Tales of the Teen Titans, 1984. The youngest of a family of acrobats known as the Flying Graysons, Dick Grayson watched his parents die at the hands of a mafia boss extorting money from the circus. Bruce Wayne adopted the young orphan as his ward and subsequently trained him to become his crime-fighting partner, Robin. Determined to prove himself and growing wary of living in Batman's shadow, Grayson moved to Bloodhaven to fight crime under his new name, Nightwing. Trained to fight crime by Batman, skilled acrobat and martial artist. Oracle. Barbara Gordon, information broker. The Suicide Squad in 1989. The daughter of Gotham City's police commissioner James W. Gordon, Barbara Gordon fought crime alongside Batman as Batgirl until she was paralyzed from the waist down and confined to a wheelchair. Barbara has since adopted the new identity of Oracle and now supports Batman with her computer expertise, providing him with a constant stream of information in the field to aid his battle against crime. Eidetic memory recall of everything she sees and reads, extensive headquarters in Gotham City's clock tower, high-level hacking and computer skills. Remains skilled with acromatics and batarangs. That's a nice little extra line there. Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot, black market racketeer. Shows up in 41, so he's pretty close to Batman's first appearance. The Penguin is an eccentric criminal mastermind known for his shady business dealings. Born into the wealthy Cobblepot family, Oswald was sent overseas for school as a boy. When his family hit hard times, Cobblepot immersed himself in a criminal education on the streets of London. Years later, he re-emerged as the Penguin, a black market arms dealer in Gotham, facilitating the illegal financial activities that fund much of the city's underworld. Since his humiliating defeat in Arkham City, Penguin has resurfaced, supplying arms to Gotham's occupying forces via a front company called North Refrigeration. Criminal and financial mastermind, expert hand-to-hand combatant, mercilessly cruel, various underworld connections.
Keep that smoke out of my face, little man.
What's the matter, Harv? Burning smell bring back some bad memories.
You're a real couple of bozos, you know?
Enough.
Well, about time you showed your face.
Yeah, what's left of it?
What's the deal, Crane? Why are we here? Because you share something. A fear that strikes at you from the shadows, hunts you, keeps you afraid of the dark.
Yeah, we all fear Batman. Tell us something we don't know.
Like how we kill him. That's my job.
Thank you, Ham Knight.
Cocky gobshite isn't the first bat fanatic to muscle in on our turf. I'd sooner piss on him than trust him.
The coin says give him a chance.
That coin.
Stinking cool. When I make a deal, I like to look a man in the eye.
Did you bring a footstool?
Yeah, real funny, Harv. You keep talking like that, and Scarecrow's little ceasefire ain't gonna happen.
Let this Arkham Knight run his army. Leave him and Scarecrow to chase the bat. We can take care of ourselves.
I'm having nothing to do with your bait job. Aside from my cut, of course.
You just make sure our men are armed and their guns are loaded.
Oh, don't you worry, Harv. The guns will be loaded. Every bleeding second of this truth.
Nice little undertone threat.
Look at you, getting claret everywhere. Look like you've done 10 rounds with Grundy. Oh, my arm, I think it's broken. This had better be good, otherwise I'll give you a matching pair. What happened?
Oh, we got to the docks like you said.
Harvey's seen anything like it. The Arkham Knight. He had a gun in my mouth. He said this was a family now. We all gotta get along. And he said, you better know your place. Cheeky bastard. Hey, don't shoot the messenger, right, boss? Nah. Or can break his bloody arm down.
I mean, that's fair enough punishment. Hey, at least he survives, right? Pamela and Isley, professional criminal. Green and Red showed up in 1966. Botanist Pamela Isley was transformed by a science experiment gone wrong into a plant-human hybrid. With chlorophyll flowing through her veins instead of blood, she developed a toxic touch and a pheromone-fueled talent for seduction. Her unique brand of eco-terrorism often puts her into conflict with Batman, whose iron will usually protects him from her seductive powers. She was recently captured by Nightwing and imprisoned in Bloodhaven until Harley Quinn staged an audacious breakout. Able to direct the growth of all plant life, plant genes mixed with her DNA, exudes natural pheromones that control victims, skin secretes a deadly toxin, pathological drive to protect nature from humanity. Professor Pig! Laszlo Valentine, circus boss, Circus of Strange. Oh, shoot up in 2007. Laszlo Valentine was a gifted scientist who suffered a schizophrenic break, causing him to develop a deranged new persona called Professor Pig. Pig formed the Circus of Strange and began touring the country, leaving a string of mysterious missing persons cases in his wake. An obsessive perfectionist, Pig uses identity-destroying drugs and invasive surgery on his victims to create genderless, lobotomized humans known as Dolatrons. Gifted scientist and chemist, obsessive perfectionist, skilled knife thrower, amateur opera singer, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the Circus of Strange is coming to a town near you. Never before has such a host of talented performers gathered in one place to amaze and entertain. Be astounded by Big Top. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Who knows? But I guarantee it's the most gigantically grotesque assortment of flesh you have ever seen. Be dumbfounded by the acrobatic oddity that is science. Stare open mouthed as these conjoined
Jeez.
defy the limits of the human body and its imagination. And last but by no means least, be stunned and horrified by the combustible wonder that is phosphorus bricks. Folks, you're gonna see it to believe it. Come and join us, and you'll never look at the world the same way again.
How did his circus survive? I don't know how many people would actually go to that.
Janos, my dearest son. Oh, my perfect child. I make these recordings so that you are not alone. So that you know Daddy loves his son. Daddy loves his little pig. The circus has traveled far, and we have brought joy to many sad people. They join us now like a big family, growing week by week. Now they feel no pain. They know nothing of misery. I call them my Dolatrons. To each new home we move at night, finding a fresh patch of earth to inhabit. Secret places in forgotten parts of town. Ugly wastelands where the locals stumble unawares into our candy-striped tent. The Dolatrons are the first to greet them with open arms and perfect faces. The climax of the show is when I take them to see Mother. Oh, I tell you, they are amazed by my imagination, confounded by my dexterity, as each is transformed into a beautiful work of art. But Mother is hard to please. She wants more, always more, never satisfied, always driving me to work harder
has drawn its curtain yet again, and the circus moves on. Our numbers swollen to a different patch of earth. On the dark horizon, the building tops glimmer. The heat and smog of industry shrouds a den of criminals and beasts. Gotham is her name. Janosch, I tell you, the circus has come home. My dear Janosch, it is time you learned the truth about your mother, your real mother. I remember not her name or how she found me, wallowing in that pit of despair. Oh, like an angel, she swept into my turvy world, dragged me, screaming, from shapeless chaos, and wrapped me in her arms. She was a beauty, Janosch, a masterpiece, perfect in every way. Until Mother Goat found her. Imagine my horror when I emerged from that dreamy soup and discovered what she'd done. Placenta face, cork-on smile, ribbons of ruptured flesh. Ooh, the nails had done their work. But by then my seed was already sown. Your life already begun. Mother would have killed you both had I not stopped her. Saved you from her rage. Day and night I worked, month after month, sculpting her loathsome clay to recapture the beauty that saved me that night. The night of your creation. She clung to me as you grew, as I toiled to make her right again. But nothing pleased Mother Goat. Nothing. I did all I could to fix her, to make her perfect. But by the time you came along, I couldn't even look upon that spoiled canvas of her face. I couldn't let that be the face that greeted you in this world. I had to end it, Janosch. For you. For Mother. She left me no choice.
Jeez, that got really dark very quick. Oh, Red Hood. I wonder who that is. Jason Todd. Showed up in 2005. Since vanquishing the Arkham Knight persona, Todd was able to lay his vengeance against Batman to rest and begin to heal the damage that was inflicted on him in the asylum. It was during this recovery that Red Hood was born. Now, while he is once again aligned with his former mentor and wanting to get rid of Gotham, of its criminal contingent, Todd's willingness to kill will forever keep them at odds. Expert marksman, martial arts master, driven by justice, willing to kill his enemies. The Riddler. I reread him and listened to him, actually. Whoops. Tim Drake, occupation student, showed up in '89. Young Tim Drake was in the audience the night the Flying Graysons were murdered, where he witnessed Batman leap to the scene. Inspired by Batman's heroics, Tim closely followed the chronicles of Batman and Robin, eventually deducing their secret identities using his self-taught detective skills. Tim convinced Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, now Nightwing, that a new Robin was needed in the never-ending battle for justice. Tested by the Dark Knight himself with a grueling training regimen, Tim earned the right to become Robin and has since lived up to the name. That's hilarious. Keen detective skills, trained to fight crime by Batman, arsenal of gadgets and advanced technology, near genius level intellect. The Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane, showed up in '41, so he's also one of the oldest. The self-proclaimed master of fear, Dr. Jonathan Crane, is an obsessive and deranged former psychiatrist who uses a combination of experimental drugs and psychological tactics to exploit his victims' fears and phobias. Prolonged exposure to his own toxin has rendered Scarecrow unable to experience the fear he so desperately craves. The only person who can still elicit terror from Scarecrow is Batman. Following his attacks on the Dark Knight in Arkham Asylum, Scarecrow was mauled by Killer Croc. Rumor has it he has since reconstructed his face to resemble his iconic mask, while plotting his revenge against Batman and Gotham. Master of Fear, Professor of Psychology, Expert Chemist.
You should invest in better guards, Crane. And you should invest in some manners. Who are you? Another pretender to the cow? Call me the Arkham Knight. Another child of the asylum set free. Tell me, what tortured soul cowers behind that mask? It doesn't matter who I am. I'm here because we want the same thing. Batman dead. You made short work of my guards, but Batman is a very different proposition. One for which I am fully prepared. Those guards I killed, I could replace them with an army. An army trained in his methods. Trained by whom? Me. And what would you know about Batman? His fear. Very well. You have my attention. Arkham Knight. $3 billion is a significant investment. People are willing to pay. And what exactly would we be getting for our money? Tanks, drones, a highly trained infantry. You think you can just bring tanks into Gotham? We hold a city ransom. We create panic. Then chaos. A distraction. As they run scared, we emerge. Take over his habitat. Every rooftop, road, and back alley. We draw him out of the shadows and chip away until he has nowhere left to hide. And no one left to hide behind. If you want him dead, why come to me? You seem capable. He needs to suffer. I suffered, so he will too. So, it's personal. Well, there are many in this city with a gift for causing harm. Not that kind of pain. The real kind. You want him afraid. I've seen what your toxin does. I want that. You're well informed about all of us, Arkham Knight. But you're wrong about something. I don't want Batman dead. I want him unmade. He's better off dead. Kill him and you martyr him. You make him a legend. But break him, humiliate him, terrify him, and hold him up for the world to see. Then he's nothing but a man. Look, you can do what you want, Crane, but when you're done, I will kill him. Very well, but know this. It will be an act of mercy when you do.
Fortunately, it never ended up an act of mercy when he died. Ooh, Simon Stagg, CEO of Stagg Enterprises, the Brave and the Bold. Wow, he's an old character too. A wealthy scientist, philanthropist, and entrepreneur. Simon Stagg is the founder and CEO of Stagg Enterprises, a company specializing in advanced biomedical research. A self-proclaimed visionary, Stagg has been developing clean energy solutions and a revolutionary airborne inoculation technology on board his airship laboratories. In recent years, Stagg Enterprises has been accused of human rights violations in regards to medical testing on humans. Simon Stagg vehemently refuted the accusations, and his company was cleared of all charges. Oh, how very nice. Cunning negotiator, unscrupulous, sound business mind. Batgirl. She showed up in 67, which makes sense with the Oracle showing up much later. The daughter of God was forbidden by her overprotective father from joining the GCPD. Instead, she took on the identity of Batgirl, was a crime-fighting partner of Batman for years, a career that ended tragically when the Joker shot her through the spine and confined her to a wheelchair. Expert martial artist, skilled detective, eidetic memory recall of everything she sees and reads. Two-Face, Harvey Dent. Show up in 42, also pretty old. District Attorney Harvey Dent was one of Batman's strongest allies in Gotham City, until a criminal threw acid in Dent's face, hideously scarring him. The wounds fractured his psyche, and he was reborn two-faced, a schizoid criminal mastermind obsessed with duality. His former good luck charm, a two-headed trick silver dollar, was damaged on one side in the attack, and Dent has seized on it as a reflection of his half-scarred visage. He flips it to decide the fates of his victims. In the wake of Joker's death, Two-Face is rumored to be working alongside other supervillains to bring Gotham to its knees and destroy Batman once for all. Hideously scarred on half of his face, extremely skilled with his twin 45 semi-automatics, psychotic obsession with duality, and the number 2 defers to his half-scarred coin in choices of life or death. And it with Vicky Vale, investigative journalist who really doesn't care about getting criminals behind bars and would rather care about the scoops. Investigative reporter Vicky Vale got her start at the Gotham City Gazette, where she quickly rose to fame due to her unwavering commitment to rooting out the ugly truth behind Gotham's corruption and poverty. After her frontline news reporting style almost led to her becoming a direct victim of Hugo Strange and the Arkham City conspiracy, Vale was relentless in bringing all living conspirators in the scheme to justice. Undaunted by her near-death experience, Vale remains fearlessly dedicated to her work and committed to the people of Gotham. Hard-nosed reporting skills, Gotham's most trusted name in news, fearless, skilled interviewer. I just realized Strange ended up in jail because still. Oh no, Sharp, I mean, not Strange, sorry. Strange showed up in jail for Sharp. So he still ended up in prison, just, not the right way.
Tape 25, October 30th. Got my hands on this forensic report. Human sacrifice. It's real. They're really happening.
The deceased M. Hollis, located in the abandoned premises, front-facing room to Hammond Close. Male, 33 years, approximately 6 feet, 210 pounds, brown hair. Found lying face up on a table central to the room. Contusions on the wrist and ankles, indicating the victim was restrained with a thick cord or rope. The neck has been cut, deep incision severing the esophagus and main arteries. The body appears to have been drained of blood. Victim is naked. Clothes have been burned as well as personal effects. No sign of murder weapon. Symbols have been drawn onto the walls in victim's blood. Photographs logged. Scene secured by Detective Russo at 2100 hours.
Something big's happening. Blackfire's here, I know it. He wants that final sacrifice. But where? I need that last piece of the puzzle, then bam! Son of a bitch is mine.
Subtitles were wrong for a bit in that thing. They said have been, and it was have be in the subtitles.
A big piece of the puzzle just fell into place. Lady of Gotham. That's where it's going down. I couldn't wait for you, Batman. Sorry. This one's too important to miss.
How did he get the big piece of news?
Guess you're wondering what the Lady of Gotham connection is. Turns out there was a Blackfire tied up with the Miyagani people. His name crops up in tribal stories. Seems like they shot him with arrows. Shut him in a cave. You want to know where that cave is supposed to be? You got it. Directly beneath the Lady of Gotham. Looks like the irony didn't escape our preacher. Cash ran this guy's prints. Turns out he's got a past. Tax evasion, fraud. One file dates back to the 20s. Cash thinks it's got to be a mistake. Part of me wishes Blackfire was telling the truth. Guess we all want to believe, huh? Too bad he's just another con man.
Much like myself. Well, that is the end of the Gotham Arkham Knight and the entire Arkham series. Unfortunately, there's nothing else that's come out since then. We're still waiting. Y'all have a good day, night, morning, wherever you are.